My name is Richard McBride. That's a bit loud. Richard McBride. I had the good fortune in the 1970s to be working here as the assistant chaplain with Ed Chrisman, whom some of you will know, and he was my teacher. During that fall of 1974, Archie came for a year's service as poet in residence. And one of my dear student friends, Judy, who's here this afternoon, was enrolled in his course, and she said, "Come with me to meet the poet." So I went, and he called the roll, and my name wasn't on the roll. So he said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm an interloper." "Well, come on in and interlope with us for a while." So I stayed the full year and participated in the workshop. It was really quite wonderful. Now, so we come finally at the end of this wonderful meeting and celebration of Archie's expressions in art of many forms to his poems. And what's going to happen is we'll have an event that's similar to the Wednesday afternoon readings we had when he was here that year. We would enter a room in Ranolda Hall and we'd write our name on the list as to the order in which we were going to read whatever we had written. And we didn't talk about it much. We just listened and heard the poems that each offered and then applauded ourselves and went on. It was a wonderful way to spend a Wednesday afternoon. So with all due respect to all of the scholarly things that have been said here, I would like to remind us something that he had to say in an interview with William Walsh in 1989. He was asked the question, "Do you think poetry is threatened by becoming an academic subject?" And he answered, "To the extent that it is a mere object of study, yes, I worry about that. Because it means that the action of the poem in the mind, the action of the body of the poem itself, is going to be paraphrased into discursiveness. Something is going to be said about it which will be different from the original action. And while I don't know how classes can be conducted any other way, that's not why poems are written. They are not written in order to be studied or discussed, but to be encountered and to become standing points that we can come to and try to feel out impressionistically what this poem is recommending. Is it recommending in a loud voice extreme action? Or is its action small? Does it think we should look closely at things? Or should we forget the little things and look at some big inner problem? Should we undertake our stances toward the world? Or does understate our stances toward the world? Or does hyperbole work better? Is this a shallow poem? Or is there some profound thing that happens that it achieves that it didn't even mean to achieve? In other words, we're trying to live our lives. And we go to these representative, symbolic actions to test out what values seem to have precedence over others. So I invite us into a period of encounters, good listening with Archie's poems. We have a special request from Phyllis that Dr. Ed Wilson read first, and he'll share what poem he's going to read.
This poem is called "For My Beloved Son." The blackberries that ripened soon after you left are ripening again, and thunderstorms after the broken down winter are rolling through here again. I keep looking for the season that will bring you home. I don't know how many times I've put in the seed, watered the plants, counted the blossoms.
After I share one poem, there will be a number of students who come. I think there are 11 readers who will come to the mic and offer other encounters. This is titled Identity. An individual spider web identifies a species. An order of instinct prevails through all accidents of circumstance, though possibility is high along the peripheries of spider webs. You can go all around the fringing attachments and find disorder ripe, entropy rich, high levels of random, numerous occasions of accident. The possible settings of a web are infinite. How does the spider keep identity while creating the web in a particular place? How and to what extent and by what modes of chemistry and control? It is wonderful how things work. I will tell you about it because it is interesting and because whatever is moves in weeds and stars and spider webs, and known is loved. In that love, each of us knowing it, I love you. For it moves within and beyond us, sizzles in winter grasses, darts and hangs with bumblebees by summer windowsills. I will show you the underlying that takes no image to itself, cannot be shown or said, but weaves in and out of moons and bladder weeds, is all and beyond destruction because created fully in no particular form. If the web were perfectly preset, the spider could never find a perfect place to set it in. And if the web were perfectly adaptable, if freedom and possibility were without limit, the web would lose its special identity. The rose-strung garden web keeps order at the center where space is freest. Interesting that the freest medium should accept the firmest order. And that order diminishes toward the periphery, allowing at the points of contact entropy equal to entropy.
My name is Guy Aiken. A really short poem called Release. After a long, muggy, hanging day, the raindrops started so sparse, the bumblebee flew between them home.
And I'm reading So I Said I Am Ezra. So I said I am Ezra, and the wind whipped my throat, gaming for the sounds of my voice. I listened to the wind go over my head and up into the night. Turning to the sea, I said, I am Ezra, but there were no echoes from the waves. The words were swallowed up in the voice of the surf, or leaping over the swells, lost themselves oceanward. Over bleached and broken fields, I moved my feet, turning from the wind that ripped the sheets of sand from the beach and threw them like sea mists across the dunes. Swayed as if the wind were taking me away, and said, I am Ezra. As a word too much repeated falls out of being, so I, Ezra, went out into the night like a drift of sand, and splashed among the windy oats that clutched the dunes of remembered seas. Thank
you. I'm Keaton Lee, and this is Rapids. Fall's leaves are redder than spring's flowers, have no pollen, and also sometimes fly, as the wind schools them out or down in shoals or droves. Though I have not been here long, I can look up at the sky at night and tell how things are likely to go for the next 100 million years. The universe will probably not find a way to vanish, nor I in all that time reappear.
I'm Caroline Halleman, and this is called Into Play. Fall fell, so that's it for the leaf poetry. Some flurries have whitened the edges of roads and lawns. Time for that. The snow stuff. And turkeys and old St. Nick. Where am I going to find something to write about that I haven't already written away? I will have to stop short, look down, look up, look close. Think, think, think. But in what range should I think? Should I figure colors and outlines, given forms, say mailboxes? Or should I try to plumb what is behind what and what behind that? Deep down, or where the surface has lost its semblance? Or should I think personally, such as, this week seems to be crafted in hell. What? Is something going on? Something besides this deedle-dee-deedle everyday matter of fact? I could draw up an ancient memory which would wipe this whole presence away, or I could fill out my dreams with high syntheses turned into concrete visionary forms. Lucre could lust for luster. Bad angels could roar out of perdition and kill the AIDS vaccine, not quite perfected yet. The gods could get down on each other. The big gods could fly in from nebulae unknown. But I'm only me. I have 4 interests: money, poetry, sex, death. I guess I can jostle those. Oh, sure. I'm involved in Professor Finn's public art class this semester, and I chose, kind of for my inspiration, the poetry of Ammons. I just wanted his text to be able to be seen more visibly on campus by students kind of, making their way across the quad. So I've chosen to do a series of works incorporating different poems. The first I meant to put out today, but unfortunately the rain kind of messed things up. But that one is inspired by rapids. It will be kind of on the pathway of the main quad near Tribble. And another piece will be hanging outside of the library hopefully next week, and then another one later this semester. So I guess just keep your eyes out for those if you're around campus.
I'm Mackenzie Connolly, and I'll be reading Hymn. I know if I find you, I will have to leave the earth and go on out over the sea marshes and the brant in bays, and over the hills of tall hickory, and over the crater lakes and canyons, and on up through the spheres of diminishing air, past the black-set, noctilucent clouds, where one wants to stop and look, way past all the light diffusions and bombardments, up farther than the loss of sight, into the unseasonal, undifferentiated, empty stark. And I know if I find you, I will have to stay with the earth, inspecting with thin tools and ground eyes, trusting the microvilli, sporangia, and the simplest solenterates, and praying for a nerve cell with all the soul of my chemical reactions, and going right on down where the eye sees only traces. You are everywhere, partial and entire. You are on the inside of everything and on the outside. I walk down the path, down the hill where the sweet gum has begun to ooze spring sap at the cut, and I see how the bark cracks and whines like no other bark, chasmal to my aunt's soul, running up and down. And if I find you, I must go out deep into your far resolutions. And if I find you, I must stay here with the separate leaves.
Another really short poem, this one called Small Song. The reeds give way to the wind and give the wind away.
Hi, I'm Cam Roberts, Corson's Inlet. I went for a walk over the dunes again this morning to the sea, then turned right along the surf, rounded a naked headland, and returned along the inlet shore. It was muggy sunny, the wind from the sea steady and high, crisp in the running sand. Some breakthroughs of sun, but after a bit, continuous overcast. The walk liberating, I was released from forms, from the perpendiculars, straight lines, blocks, boxes, binds of thought, into the hues, shadings, rises, flowing bends and blends of sight. I allow myself eddies of meaning, yield to a direction of significance running like a stream through the geography of my work. You can find in my sayings swerves of actions like the inlet's cutting edge. There are dunes of motion, organizations of grass, white sandy paths of remembrance in the overall wondering of mirroring mind. But overall is beyond me, is the sum of these events I cannot draw, the ledger I cannot keep, the accounting beyond the account. In nature there are few sharp lines. There are areas of primrose more or less dispersed, disorderly orders of bayberry between the rows of dunes, irregular swamps of reeds, though not reeds alone, but grass, bayberry, yarrow, all, predominantly reeds. I have reached no conclusions, have erected no boundaries, shutting out and shutting in, separating inside from outside. I have drawn no lines, as manifold events of sand change the dune's shape that will not be the same shape tomorrow. So I am willing to go along to accept the becoming thought, to stake off no beginnings or ends, establish no walls. By transitions, the land falls from grassy dunes to creek to under creek, but there are no lines, though change in the transition is clear as any sharpness, but sharpness spread out, allowed to occur over a wider range than mental lines can keep. The moon was full last night. Today, low tide was low, black shoals of mussels exposed to the risk of air, and earlier of sun, waved in and out with the waterline inexact, called always in the event of change. A young mottled gull stood free on the shoals and ate to vomiting. Another gull, squawking possession, cracked a crab, picked out the entrails, swallowed the soft-shelled legs, a ruddy turnstone turning into snatched leftover bits. Risk is full, every living thing in sage. The demand is life to keep life. The small, white, black-legged egret, how beautiful, quietly stalks and spears the shallows, darts to shore to stab. What? I couldn't see against the black mud flats, a frightened fiddler crab. The news to my left over the dunes and reeds and bayberry clumps was fall, thousands of tree swallows gathering for flight. An order held in constant change, a congregation rich with entropy, nevertheless separable, noticeable as one event, not chaos. Preparations for flight from winter, cheat, 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 cheat. Wings rifling the green clumps, beaks at the bayberries, a perception full of wind, flight, curve, sound. the possibility of rule as the sum of rulelessness, the field of action with moving incalculable center. In the smaller view, order tight with shape, blue tiny flowers on a leafless weed, carapace of crab, snail shell, pulsations of order in the bellies of minnows, order swallowed, broken down, transferred through membranes to strengthen larger orders, but in the large view, no lines are changeless shapes. The working in and out, together and against of millions of events, this so that I make no form of formlessness. Orders as summaries as the outcomes of actions override or in some way result, not predictably. Seeing me again, the top of a dune, the swallows could take flight. Some other fields of bayberry could enter fall berryless, and there is serenity. No arranged terror, no forcing of image, plan, or thought, no propaganda, no humbling of reality to precept. Terror pervades, but it's not arranged, all possibilities of escape open, no route shut, except in the sudden loss of all routes. I see narrow orders, limited tightness, but will not run to that easy victory. Still around the looser, wider forces work, I will try to fasten into order enlarging grasps of order, disorder, widening scope, but enjoying the freedom that scope eludes my grasp. That there is no finality of vision, that I have perceived nothing completely. That tomorrow a new walk is a new walk.
Hello, my name is AJ Mitchell, and I will be reading Shit List, or Omnium Gatherum of Diversity into Unity. You'll rejoice at how many kinds of shit there are. Gosling shit, which J. Williams says something was as green as. Fish shit, generality. Trout shit, rainbow trout shit, for the nice. Mullet shit, sand dab shit, casual sloth shit, elephant shit. Awesome as process or payload. Wildebeest shit, horse shit, a favorite. Caterpillar shit, so many dark kinds neatly pelleted as mint seed. Baby rhinoceros shit, splashy jaybird shit. Mockingbird shit, dive bomb with the aim of the song. Robin shit that oozes white down lawn chairs or down roots under roost. Chicken shit and chicken mite shit. Pelican shit, gannet shit, wholesome guano. Fly shit, periodic. Cockatoo shit, dog shit, past catalog or assimilation. Cricket shit, elk high plains shit. And tiny scribbled little shrew shit, whale shit, what a sight, deep assumption. Mandrill shit, blazing blast off. Weasel shit, wild's waste. Gazelle shit. Magpie shit, total protein. Tiger shit, too acid to contemplate. Moral ill and manta ray shit. Eerie shark shit. Earthworm shit. A sawyer. Crab shit. Wolf shit upon the germicidal ice. Snake shit. Giraffe shit that accelerates. Secretary bird shit. Turtle shit suspension invites. Remora shit, slightly in advance of the shark shit. Hornet shit, difficult to access. Camel shit that slaps the ghastly, dry, silicious. Frog shit, beetle shit. Bat shit, the memorial. Contemptible cat shit. Penguin shit, hermit crab shit. Prairie hen shit, cougar shit, eagle shit, high totem stuff. Buffalo shit, hardly less lofty. Otter shit, beaver shit, from the animal of alluvial dreams. A vast osier is a broken down colica. Macaw shit, alligator shit that floats the Nile along. Louse shit, macaque, koala, and Cody shit. Antelope shit, Chuck Will's widow shit. Alpaca shit, very high stuff. Goonie bird shit, chigger shit, bull shit, the classic. Caribou shit, Rasboro, Python, and Razorbill shit. Scorpion shit, man shit. Lousewing, fly larva shit. Chipmunk shit. Otherworldly wallaby shit. Gopher shit or broke. Platypus shit. Aardvark shit. Spider shit. Kangaroo and peccary shit. Guanaco shit. Dolphin shit. Aphid shit. Baboon shit that leopards induce. Albatross shit. Red-headed woodpecker, 9 inches long shit. Tern shit, hedgehog shit, panda shit, seahorse shit, and the shit of the wasteful galanol. Thank you.
I'm Wesley Longacre. I'm reading In Memoriam Me Noblet. This is just a place. We go around, distanced yearly in a star's atmosphere, turning daily into and out of direct light and slanting through the quadrant seasons. Deep space begins at our heels, nearly rousing us loose. We look up or out so high, sight's silk almost draws us away. This is just a place. Currents worry themselves, coiled and free in airs and oceans. Water picks up mineral shadow and plasm into billions of designs, frames, trees, grains, bacteria. But is love a reality we made here ourselves? And grief? Did we design that? Or do these, like currents, wind in and out among us merely as we arrive and go? This is just a place. The reality we agree with, that agrees with us. Outbounding this, arrives to touch, joining with us from far away. Our home which defines us is elsewhere, but not so far away we have forgotten it. This is just a place.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Jones, and this is an improvisation for angular momentum. Walking is like imagination. A single step dissolves the circle into motion. The eye here and there rests on a leaf, gap, or ledge. Everything flowing except where sight touches seeing. Stop though, and reality snaps back in, locked hard. Forms sharply themselves. Bushbank, dentry, phone line, definite, fixed. The self too, then, caught real, clouds and wind melting into their directions, breaking around and over, down and out. Motions, profound, alive, musical. Perhaps the death mother, like the birth mother, does not desert us, but comes to tend and produce us, to make room for us, and bear us tenderly, considerately through the gates, to see us through, to ease our pains, while our cries, to hover over and nestle us, to deliver us into the greatest, most enduring peace, all the way past the bother of recollection, beyond the fine work of frailty, the mish-mash house of the coming and going, creation's fringes, the eddies and curlicues.
One more really short poem. Their sex life. One failure on top of another.
My name is Ivan Mosley, and I will be doing Easter morning. I have a life that did not become, that turned aside and stopped, astonished. I hold it in me like a pregnancy, or as on my lap, a child. Not to grow old, but dwell on. It is to his grave I most frequently return and return to ask, what is wrong? What was wrong? To see it all by the light of a different necessity. But the grave will not heal. And the child, stirring, must share my grave with me, an old man having gotten by on what was left. When I go back to my home country in these fresh, far-away days, it's convenient to visit everyone, aunts and uncles, those who used to say, look how he's shooting up, and the trinket aunts, who always had a little something in their pocketbooks, cinnamon bark, a penny, or a nickel, and uncles who were the rumored fathers of cousins, who whispered of them as of great, if troubled presences, and school teachers. Just about everybody older, and some younger, collected in one place, waiting, particularly, but not for me. Mother and father there too, and others, close, close as burrowing under skin. All in the graveyard, assembled, done for, the world they used to wield and have trouble and joy in, gone. The child in me that could not become was not ready for others to go on into change, into blessings and horrors, but stands there by the road where the mishap occurred, crying out for help. Come and fix this, or we can't get by. But the great ones who were to return, they could not or did not hear, and went on in the flurry. And now, I say in the graveyard, here lies the flurry. Now it can't come back with help or helpful asides. Now we all buy the bitter incompletions, pick up the knots of horror, silently raving and go on, crashing into empty ends, not completions, not when years the fullness has come into or spent itself from. I stand on the stump of a child, whether myself or my little brother who died, and yell as far as I can, I cannot leave this place, for me it is the dearest and the worst. It is life nearest to life, which is life lost. It is my place where I must stand and fail, calling attention with tears to the branches not lofting boughs into space, to the barren air that holds the world that was my world. Though the incompletions and completions burn out, standing in the flash, high burn, momentary structure of ash, still it is a picture book, letter perfect. Easter morning, I have been for a walk. The wind is tranquil. The brook works without flashing in an abundant tranquility. The birds are lively with voice. I saw something I had never seen before. Two great birds, maybe eagles, black-winged, white-necked, and headed. Came from the south, oaring the great wings steadily. They went directly over me, high up, and kept on, due north. But then one bird, the one behind, veered a little to the left, and the other bird kept on seeming not to notice for a minute. The first began to circle as if looking for something, coasting, resting its wings on the downside of some of the circles. The other bird came back, and they both circled, looking perhaps for a draft. They turned a few more times, possibly rising, at least clearly resting, then flew on falling into distance till they broke across the local bush and trees. It was a sight of bountiful majesty and integrity. The halving patterns and roots, breaking from them to explore other patterns or better ways to roots, and then the return, a dance sacred as the sap in the trees, permanent in its descriptions, as the ripples round the brook's ripple stones, fresh as this particular flood of burn, breaking across the snow from the sun.
Hi, my name is Sarah Jean Sparks, or Sparky with an IE, and I will be reading In View of the Fact. The people of my time are passing away. My wife is baking for a funeral, a 60-year-old who died suddenly, when the phone rings, and it's Ruth we care so much about in intensive care. It was once weddings that came so thick and fast, and then first babies, such a hullabaloo. Now it's this, that, and the other, and somebody else gone or on the brink. Well, we never thought we would live forever, although we did. And now it looks like we won't. Some of us are losing a leg to diabetes. Some don't know what they went downstairs for. Some know that a hired watchful person is around. Some like to touch the cane tip into something steady, so nice. We have already lost so many, brushed the loss of ourselves, our address books for so long a slow scramble, now are palimpsests, scribbles, and scratches. Our index cards for Christmases, birthdays, Halloweens drop clean away into sympathies. At the same time, we are getting used to so many leaving. We are hanging on with a grip to the ones left. We are not giving up on the congestive heart failure or brain tumors, on the nice old men left in empty houses, or on the widows who decide to travel a lot. We think the sun may shine someday when we'll drink wine together and think of what used to be. Until we die, we will remember every single thing, recall every word, love every loss. Then we will, as we must, leave it to others to love. Love that can grow brighter and deeper till the very end, gaining strength and getting more precious all the way. Thank you.
And finally, the dedicatory poem to Sphere, perhaps the poem in which the single threads unbraided are thought of as reaching toward each other around a spherical surface. It's dedicated to Harold Bloom, whom you remember was one of the early critics to recognize his talent. I went to the summit and stood in the high nakedness. The wind tore about this way and that in confusion, and its speech could not get through to me, nor could I address it. Still I said, as if to the alien in myself, I do not speak to the wind now, for having been brought this far by nature, I have been brought out of nature, and nothing here shows me the image of myself. For the word tree I have been shown a tree, and for the word rock, I have been shown a rock. For stream, for cloud, for star, this place has provided firm implication and answering. But where here is the image for longing? So I touched the rocks, their interesting crusts. I flaked the bark of stunt fir. I looked into space and into the sun, and nothing answered my word, longing. Goodbye, I said. Goodbye, nature so grand and reticent. Your tongues are healed up into their own element, and as you have shut up, you have shut me out. I am as foreign here as if I had landed a visitor. So I went back down and gathered mud, and with my hands made an image for longing. I took the image to the summit. First I set it here on the top rock, but it completed nothing. And then I set it there among the tiny firs, but it would not fit. So I returned to the city and built a house to set the image in. And men came into my house and said, that is an image for longing, and nothing will ever be the same again.
Thank you so much to all the readers. It is clear that there is a whole new generation of Ammons lovers. That is reassuring. I'm afraid this is the end. I wish we could go on forever. This has been a magnificent experience these past 2 days. Thanks so much to Phyllis and Vida and Emily and all the speakers. It has truly been one of the most fulfilling experiences of my career, and I only hope that you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed putting it together for you. It seems that Archie Ammons still lives and walks among us and continues to inspire, and will as long as his works endure. It sounds so mundane, but there is an evaluation form in your packet. If you would like to fill it out, that would be fine. We would like to know what you thought of our program. Also, you will get one more email from me sometime in the next few weeks. We have had permission from our speakers to record these lectures, and so we will make those available to you. We also will post the pictures that we have taken, all the images from all the sessions. And then as a special treat, our special collections department has put online just yesterday, I believe, a collection of readings that Archie has done of his own poems. That will be very special and you can have access to. So we thank you so much for coming. Safe travels on your way home. Thank you.